dreams in our eyes. The crowds roar like a storm on the wind. We're the underdogs fighting again.
What's going on, guys, and welcome to Stateside Footy. Of course, I'm your boy Steve, and man, we got a few things to talk about tonight, man, because there were a few things that kind of jumped off the page today. Not gonna lie, man, I was at work when I saw the headlines, and I was like, "Oh shit." So we have a lot to talk about tonight. Cool. I mean, the timing couldn't even be for real, man. The timing was impeccable on this one, and so from that standpoint, I want to thank all the powers that be. I want to thank Matt Crocker for making a stupid decision. And I want to thank Inter Miami for essentially firing your head coach for winning an MLS Cup not even 4 months ago. So I do want to thank you guys for giving me stuff to talk about tonight, because don't get me wrong, we're going to go through the weekend that was, but we are going to be talking about the couple of things that happened today. Before we get into it, I would like to let you guys know that if you guys want, you guys can throw me a sub. If you guys want to throw me a like, I would appreciate it. It's not necessary, but that being said, I mean, we're all here for a reason. We're here to talk soccer. We're here to have a good time. So while you're here, you might as well just hook your boy up and throw me a sub. That's all I'm saying. Quickly, I want to thank all the homies over there on TikTok Live for tuning in for this one. All the homies on X and Facebook as well too. I do definitely appreciate it. And all those that are tuning in via YouTube. All right, let's get into it, because U.S. Soccer did announce that Matt Crocker has taken the bag from Saudi Arabia. I guess you can say the public investment funds of Saudi Arabia have reached out to American shores to pick up this piece of shit, Matt Crocker, who, by the way, I got to be honest with you, this is actually kind of embarrassing for U.S. Soccer. That we're less than 100 days now away from World Cup 2026, and your sporting director has essentially takes off to a competitor that's going to be competing on these exact shores. And the reason why it's embarrassing in my mind is because this is the team, this is the program that he stepped in to allegedly build, and all of that was supposed to manifest in World Cup 2026. And from a U.S. soccer perspective, I think this couldn't have come at a worse time, because again, when you look at the whole body of work, was it great? No, but that being said, this was the crowning achievement. World Cup 2026 on your home soil was the crowning achievement. And of course, when you look at the work that he did on the women's side with Emma Hayes, bringing her in, allegedly the best women's coach in the world, and then of course, bringing in Maurizio Pochettino, the body of work was supposed to be that crowning achievement come World Cup 2026. And this asshole just takes the bag from Saudi Arabia. That being said, obviously, if he doesn't want to be here, he doesn't want to be here. And by the way, if taking the Saudi bag is more important than just waiting it out a few 90 days. until World Cup 2026. You couldn't have waited until the end of the World Cup to take the bag. You had to jump on the ship now. Come on, man. Come on now. This is I got to be honest with you, man. This is the worst possible timing for the U.S. Soccer Federation, because it shows that you're inept. It shows complete ineptitude all the way down, right? Because it's not just Matt Crocker for doing this. It's the people that are responsible for hiring Matt Crocker. Who are those people? The JT Batsons of the world. Greg Berhalter's brother, I think, is still an executive. Jay Berhalter, I think his name is, and of course Cindy Parlow Cone, the president of the U.S. Soccer Federation. These people that are responsible for bringing in these type of players that didn't have U.S. soccer's best interest at heart. Obviously, Matt Crocker was here because, don't get me wrong, the U.S. soccer program doesn't have like the highest profile in the world. It's not England. It's certainly not France. But that being said, what I will say is that it has a high enough program where high enough of a profile where if you do hire an Emma Hayes and if you are able to get a Pochettino to come, all of a sudden your personal profile kind of raises a little bit. And when you talk about a team like Saudi Arabia, a team that can now qualify for a World Cup, now all of a sudden you're starting to think about what the next levels are for Saudi Arabia, and of course, a team that essentially has the endless bag that can pay him $4, $5, $6 million a year to go over there and do what he did here. Then it is what it is, right? But from that standpoint, that's the embarrassing part about this entire thing, is the fact that Matt Crocker obviously was not here for the betterment of U.S. soccer, and at the end of the day, that is the worst. That is the worst for the U.S. Soccer Federation. That is the embarrassment. And so the question is like, how do you move on from here? Well, I would assume that Aguchi Onyewu was probably going to carry some weight because I think he's the associate sporting director. So I probably assume between now and the end of the World Cup, I'm sure his responsibilities will grow a little bit. But that being said, I do have a name for you, and somebody that cares deeply about U.S. soccer, somebody that used to play for the national team, and somebody that is currently running a youth program right now, essentially an academy for free, and that is Eric Winalda, somebody who at one point ran for U.S. soccer president, and of course the powers that be that didn't want him in place because of, Eric Winalda is a guy that won't kiss the ring. He's a guy who loves U.S. soccer, will put U.S. soccer first. And I think that potentially could cause some problems with the Major League Soccer side of things. But again, you're talking about the U.S. soccer program from the senior national men's and women's team all the way down through the youth levels. And I would probably assume that, if that's exactly what you want, somebody that cares about U.S. soccer, then go out and get the guy that truly loves U.S. soccer. And for me, that's Eric Winalda. All right, let's see. Spiders Latan. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Bye, Betty, and still don't forgive him for hiring Greg Berhalter, messing up the entire cycle. Yeah. So here's the thing. Here's the thing about this, and I'm glad you brought this up, Zlatan. And by the way, Zlatan is awesome, still to this day. Now the question is whether or not Matt Crocker was the one that actually rehired him, and whether or not the powers that be that were above him were the ones that forced him to rehire him. Because if you remember, Matt Crocker had a handshake agreement with Jesse Marsh, and that was in place. That Jesse Marsh had came back from Leicester. He was set to take the Leicester job, and all of a sudden the national team came calling, and then all of a sudden within a matter of days, they had a handshake agreement, and then all of a sudden in the 11th hour, Matt Crocker had to essentially burn a bridge that I'm sure he didn't want to burn. And then, the decision came down that Greg Berhalter would come back. And I always wonder whether or not that was a Matt Crocker decision or whether that was a Jay Berhalter, JT Batson, Cindy Parlow-Cone decision, or even in association with Don Garber. I would probably assume that because that didn't work out, that maybe Matt Crocker had some leeway when it came to getting Maurizio Pochettino through the door. It was a big name, and I think the powers that be probably wanted a big name at that point. And so from that standpoint, you kind of wonder how that was going to play out and who was actually responsible for that one. But definitely, he's going to be the guy that's going to be blamed for it, 100%. Let's see. Will Betty Crocker get hazard pay? I hope not. Tony Martinez, nepotism. Yeah. Let's see. Wish we would take JT with him. Yeah, I would like to see U.S. Soccer completely clean house, 100%. There really is too much nepotism. MLS and U.S. Soccer have become a money grab. They don't care about the sport. I would probably agree with that. And when you look at their TV, contracts, there's a reason why we play in the United States 90% of the year. With the small occasional road trip, like last year, I think, late 2024, we had a road match in Mexico and Guadalajara. But outside of the occasional road match in CONCACAF, usually anything that's on the road is going to be like in the Nations League. That's about it. Or World Cup qualifying. That's pretty much it. And a lot of that has to do with the television money, the television contracts, and them not wanting to split with those nations. And if a nation comes to the United States, yes, they get a portion of the ticket sales, sure. But as far as the television money goes, they don't have to split it. Let's see. We all know why he's going to Saudi. Yeah, no shit. No shit, Greg. I would probably assume there's maybe $5-6 million that are attached to it per year. Zlatan, what would be funny is if he took a pay cut. That actually, that would be funny. That would be funny. That would make it even worse, I would probably assume. Let's see. The players wanted Gray back. Yeah. No, I don't listen. Yes, I heard the players had input, but that's not the reason why Greg came back. When you look at the power structure above Matt Crocker in U.S. Soccer, Greg was a very a safe figure for them. Somebody that's never going to rock the boat. Somebody that's going to kiss the ring when the ring needs to be kissed, and of course the connection with his brother. So from that standpoint, it was obvious. Let's see. Houston Dynamo, FC Dallas, or Austin FC and WHU. Houston Dynamo, FC Dallas, or Austin FC. I don't like any of the Texas sides, but if I had to choose, probably FC Dallas. Probably if I had to choose of those three, it's FC Dallas, just because I like the way that they develop players. I really do. Although I gotta say though, back in the day, I really did like the Houston Dynamo when they first moved from San Jose to Houston, and I think they won back-to-back MLS Cups when they first got to Houston. When Nate Jacqua was a part of that team, yeah. Do you think WW3 will start? Who's WW3? You let me know. All right, so let's see. WW3. You got to spell that out for me, bro. Oh, World War III. Do you think? No, I don't think World War III. Yeah, Brian Ching. That's exactly right. Ching-a-ling, baby. Brian Ching. Brian Ching was my guy. And by the way, Brian Ching was a Sounder. He was a member of the USL Sounders, right? So from that standpoint, yeah, Brian Ching definitely was that guy. Did I watch the Barca match? I know that Barca got CONCACAF though, and Hansi Flick complained about the field. Yeah, I didn't watch it, but I heard about it. All right, so before we get into it, we do have to talk a little bit about Javier Mascherano. And of course, Inter Miami sacked yet another coach, and of course they chalked it up to personal reasons. But that being said, his entire coaching staff was out the door as well too. And this follows on the heels of Tata Martino, and of course Tata had like one of the best regular seasons in MLS history, and he got shown the door as well too, again for personal reasons. And it's a little surprising considering that Miami was in third place. And what I will say is, that match against the New York Red Bulls notwithstanding, they don't have the same bite as they had last year. And what I mean by that was the fact that, when they had a guy like Sergio Busquets and Jordi Alba, and when you pair it with Leo Messi, and you have, Tadeo Alande, and you have Marco Silvetti, the team almost kind of runs itself. And last season, don't get me wrong, it is what it is. All Javier Mascherano had to do was just keep that team organized, and, that team kind of runs itself. And, yes, they were able to win MLS Cup the year before. They win the Supporters Shield. But the reality is, like, when you think about Inter Miami and you think about what this club has been about since Leo Messi has come on board, and you think about the money they have spent to get this team where it's at, including this offseason and the moves that they made essentially to reload, this team was not built to win the U.S. Open Cup or to win a Leagues Cup or the Supporter Shield. This team was pretty much built to win everything. And when you look at some of the names that were brought in, you kind of look at it and be like, who's going to beat Miami? But that being said, when you look at the results of the last 3 seasons in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, which is like essentially the major tournament in our region, they go out this year in the round of 16. Last year it was the semifinals. The year before it was the quarterfinals, and it's simply just not good enough. And of course, last year they lose to my Sounders in the Leagues Cup final, in in a little bit of an embarrassing fashion. And so from that standpoint, it's like, listen, I understand, they had some pretty good success, and they won the biggest trophy. But that being said, I would probably assume that there were some things that were going on behind closed doors. I would probably imagine there may or may not have been some words between the Big Cheese and their head coach, and you can't get rid of the Big Cheese in that organization. So unfortunately, the coach had to go, and now they're going to get another Argentinian through the door to take the reins of Inter Miami. But that being said, man, really what it came down to, it's like those 2 losses, Busquets and Alba, those were 2 losses that they just couldn't withstand. I mean, it is what it is. That team is leaking goals a little bit more this season. They're not playing, their attack isn't, playing with as much bite as it did last year. And it just is what it is. They've regressed a little bit, even though it, like, on paper, it looks like they've gotten better. They've kind of regressed just a little bit. And, the results again in the round of 16 of the CONCACAF Champions Cup, they're regressing in some of the bigger tournaments, and unfortunately, it's just not going to play. And so, if Mascherano had this team in first place and all signs were pointing in the right direction, yeah, maybe maybe he stays. But that being said, this is a team that acts shrewdly, so it is what it is. But that being said, it's like, as of right now, I would probably like to think that Nashville is probably my pick in the Eastern Conference. I like everything about Nashville, and who knows exactly how the summer transfer window is going to play out. I would probably assume that Miami are probably going to be players on some level, depending on their salary cap situation. Maybe they'll have to sell on a piece or two in order to buy. Who knows exactly how that's going to pan out. But that being said, it's like, I understand why I can understand on some level why Javier Mascherano was let go. All right, let's see. The historian, the ops on Trump. Yeah, this is not the channel for that, man. This is not the channel to talk about Trump or World War III, man. I don't have an opinion on it. I like your enthusiasm, though, but I don't have an opinion on it. All right, let's get to it because the U.S. men's national team pool players did actually have some nice performances. Although McKinney didn't play this last weekend, Tillman I think got on for like a minute. Gio didn't play, so there was a lot of players that didn't feature this weekend, but still some nice performances. So let's go ahead and get into it. And of course, we start with our strikers. And Flo Balogun, man. He scored again, this time in a 4-1 loss to Paris FC. And to me, that's actually kind of the big shocker, just considering where AS Monaco is at. And Paris FC is kind of like the new kid on the block when it comes to Ligue 1. And but that being said, he scores again, and this was his 7th goal in 10 games for AS Monaco. So if you're pointing to somebody on this roster right now that is absolutely productive and balling out of control right now, it is Flo Balogun. He played the entire 90, did score the goal, did create 2 chances, 26 touches. 10 of those came in the opposition box, 13 of 16 of accurate passes, 1 of 1 successful dribbles. And he was also 2 of 3 on aerial duels as well, too. And that was good for an 8 rating. And of course, there's no slowing down Flo Balogun at this pace. And it feels like Flo is going to finish the season absolutely on fire. I guess, again, when it comes to form and when you're talking about picking your World Cup roster, it is all about who is in form at the right time. And Flo Balogun certainly is that. You're kind of wondering if there is going to be a little bit of slowdown between now and the end of the season. But that being said, it's like when you're looking at where Monaco is in the Ligue 1 standings and what they're actually playing for, you kind of realize that they can't afford to have Flo Balogun slow down, right? They're going to need his goal production if indeed they are going to try to clinch a Champions League spot for next season. And so from that standpoint, a lot of their plans are hinging on Flo Balogun continuing this run of form. And yeah, I think Tony Martinez right here in the chat hit it pretty good. The World Cup game plan, feed Flo. Yeah, 100%. 100%. The other guy that we have to talk about is Ricardo Pepi. And PSV did beat Sparta Rotterdam over the weekend, and Pepi played 82 minutes, and he scored a goal himself. 31 touches, 7 in the opposition box, 17 of 20 of accurate passes. And outside of that, that was still good for an 8 rating. But that being said, Ricardo Pepi is doing Ricardo Pepi things, and he's doing Pepi things at the right time. Because again, if both of these dudes are on fire heading into the World Cup, all of a sudden striker has become one of our more important positions. As a matter of fact, I would probably say at that point you might be able to say that it might be one of our deepest positions too, especially if you have two dudes that are absolutely on fire. Haji Wright did play this weekend as they drew 0-0 to Sheffield Wednesday. And this was actually kind of surprising too, because Sheffield Wednesday is hot garbage. And a lot of that goes to the fact that, they're on a points deduction. They went into administration, and I think they may have even gone through a couple of coaches this season. And they don't have any really good talent as well too. They're trying to make it do with what they got. And this should have been the type of match where Coventry essentially lights them up for 4. And they didn't. Haji did play 67 minutes. Did have two chances created in this one, and I think he got off to 3 shots in this one. 16 touches, 4 in the opposition box. He was 2 of 2 in successful dribbles, 1 of 1 of accurate passes, 5 of 8. 1 of 1 of accurate crosses. 5 of 8 of accurate passes. And that was pretty much it. 3 of 6 ground duels, 3 of 6 aerial duels, and that was good for a 7 rating. But this was a missed opportunity for Haji. And when you're looking at Haji over the course of the last 5-6 weeks, he actually hasn't really played all that well. As a matter of fact, didn't play on March 11th against Preston. He has played the last 4, no goals, no assists, hasn't had a rating higher than 7 in any of those matches. I thought the highest rating for me was probably this one against Sheffield Wednesday. The last time Haji scored was March 7th versus Bristol City, and that came on a run of 4 matches in 5 where he scored 6 goals. And that included a hat trick against Middlesbrough on February 16th. But outside of that, man, Haji has again gone cold. And when you're looking at the championship standings, and you're looking at where Coventry is as of right now, they're holding on to an automatic promotion spot. But that being said, all of that could potentially turn. And so from that standpoint, Haji is going to be one of those dudes that are going to have to pick up the pace. But that being said, when you're looking at the World Cup roster, he's probably on it just by default because Hajime is unfortunately out. All right, let's see. Tom Hartley in the TikTok chat says, do you think Tottenham will survive the drop? Ooh. What do you think, Tom? You know I love me some Spurs, right? You know I do. But until we actually can win a match in 2026 in the Premier League, I'm going to have to say no. But that being said, City can also get their points deduction. You know what I mean? Like if City get their points deduction, we're clear of them by 6. But they have a game in hand, so who knows how that will play out. All right. Let's turn to the forwards now. And again, Gio Reyna did not feature. McKennie did not feature. And Tillman, I think, only got on for about a minute. And so I didn't we're not talking about Tillman this week. Let's see. Raj Muhammad, am I a Tottenham fan? Yes, I am. All right, let's start with Captain America, Christian Pulisic. And I will say that for a guy who hasn't had a goal in 2026, hasn't scored a goal for the national team since 2024. I will say that this was actually an encouraging sign. If you're a Pooley fan, because it was me personally, I thought it was a solid performance. That being said, Milan lost 3-0 to Udinese, and under no circumstances should you lose to Udinese at any stage. For real. Udinese kind of sucks, but when you're looking at, Milan still is 3 points off of Napoli, right? So there's still something to play for it there. It looks like they're going to hold on. It looks like they're going to hold on unless there's a collapse. Now, mind you, Como sitting on 58 points, Roma sitting on 57. And so from that standpoint, you're kind of looking at it like maybe Milan might be all right, but they're going to need Christian Pulisic if they're going to hold on to a Champions League spot. But that being said, Pooley played 72 minutes in this one. Did create 3 chances, 59 touches, 7 in the opposition box, 33 or 40 of accurate passes. It looked like 2 of those found the final third. It looked like he was 6 of 7 on successful dribbles, 1 of 1 of accurate crosses, 3 defensive contributions, 2 tackles, 9 of 10 of ground duels, and that was good for an 8 rating. This is, I think, his highest rating in a non-GA situation in the last 4 weeks, not including his stint with the national team in March. Like, I would say, like, this was like the most encouraging sign that Pooley is potentially back to that, to the Pooley level. And again, like it, for those that are maybe a little concerned considering Pooley's drought, again, I always go back to the fact that he is unequivocally one of our leaders. And considering his history with the national team, he was one of those guys He's the only guy left over from that 2017 from that 17 loss in Trinidad, right? So you don't have to tell him how important the national team is. You don't have to tell him how important the World Cup is, especially considering it's on home soil. Like, if there's anybody that you can trust to show up to lead this team, it's Christian Pulisic. Now, granted, would I like to see a few goals between now and then? Of course. I think everybody would. But that being said, if you told me that, Pulisic enters the World Cup and has like a 6-goal performance throughout the World Cup, and and all of a sudden we get to the quarterfinals because of his output, I think everybody would be absolutely thrilled with that type of production. He is that type of capable. All right. Brendan Aronson is back on the rundown this week, and Brendan, he was a part of the March. He was a part of the March camp, but Leeds actually beat Manchester United 2-1 this weekend, and this is the first time, I think, in how long was it? Let's see. How long did Leeds wait to beat there it is. Let's see. 45 years. They get their first win at Old Trafford, the Theatre of Dreams. In 45 years, they waited. Unbelievable. Brendan Aronson actually played 86 minutes in this one, and he actually supplied the assist. He did have 2 chances created, 45 touches, 20 to 32 of accurate passes, 3 into the final third, 1 of 1 of accurate long balls, 7 defensive contributions, and that was good for a 7.5 rating. It always seems like in the biggest games that Leeds have had this season, Brendan Aronson's name pops up. And I don't think that's a coincidence at all. I think Brendan Aronson, is that type of guy that has the tendency to actually have big games when it matters. And so from that standpoint, I think everybody would probably assume that Brendan's probably going to be a part of this World Cup squad. I got him as one of my locks. And I'm happy for Brendan. Maybe this wasn't necessarily the year that we all envisioned him in the Premier League, but that being said, as of right now, he's a part of a Premier League team, and it looks like he's going to help keep Leeds up. And for Daniel Farke and Leeds not being a yo-yo team, I think that's a plus. Let's talk about Alex Zendejas. And this dude, I love Alex Zendejas a lot because this dude is automatic. He is like in basketball terms, he would be called an automatic bucket because it just seems week in and week out, he always hits the score sheet, whether it is a goal or whether he's supplying an assist. It doesn't matter if he's playing on the left or he's playing underneath as a 10. Zendejas is just solid. Club America did draw 1-1 with Cruz Azul. Zendejas played 68 minutes and he had an assist. He created 2 chances, 42 touches, 21 of 27 of accurate passes, 1 of 2 of accurate crosses, 1 of 2 of accurate long balls, 4 of 9 ground duels, 1 of 1 of aerial duels, and that was also good for a 7.5 rating as well too. And this is the dude. When you're talking about roster spots 25 and 26, and if you're choosing between another forward player and you're making that decision between a guy like maybe Diego Luna or a dude like Alex Zendejas, and you guys by now know that I'm a big Diego Luna guy. I think that dude is unbelievably special. And I think he's got a future, not just with the national team, but I also think he's got a future overseas as well, too. But the question is form and who helps this team win more right now. And as much as I love Luna, And Luna can pop up with a goal here and there. He has the ability to beat somebody off, off the dribble, 1v1. I just don't necessarily know if he's at that level yet in Spurs, because he has shown in clips that he can, but consistently, I don't know. And this World Cup is unbelievably too important. And especially if you're planning on carrying potentially a Christian Roldan or a Sebastian Berhalter or a Jack McGlynn. If you're carrying two of those three, okay, great, but do yourself a favor and make sure at least your forward players are as good as you possibly can, as good as you possibly can have them, and that means that Alex Zendejas has to get that nod. I realize he wasn't a part of the March camp. I get it, but that being said, it's like when you look at the form. Yeah, he'll go out for a couple weeks with a ticky-tack injury, but when he comes back, he just doesn't lose form. He picks up right where you left off. Now, if you want to make the argument about Liga MX not being as good as or on par with Major League Soccer, okay, fine, we can have that conversation, because I think it's a worthy conversation to have. But that being said, it's like, man, Zendejas probably might be one of your better forward players in the pool. And I don't think that's hyperbolic as well. I think he really is. Gianluca Busio makes the rundown again, and Gianluca Busio obviously is Venezia's best player, and it very well might be that Venezia gets bumped back up to Serie A next season. But that being said, I think Busio might actually get a move away from Venezia. I think he certainly earned it, and he's certainly developed really well there. At Venezia, they drew 1-1 with Virtus Entella. Busio played a full 90, created 2 chances, did have 4 shots. I think 3 of them were on target. 94 touches, 4 in the opposition box, 62 of 73 of accurate passes, 6 into the final third, 3 of 6 of accurate long balls, 8 defensive contributions, 3 tackles, 2 interceptions. Good Lord. In 2 of 3 of aerial duels, and that was good for an 8 rating. And this is another name that should be considered for 2026. I realize Serie B isn't Serie A, but that being said, it's like you talk about some of the better players that are flying under the radar in Europe right now. Gianluca Busio is amazing, because not only does he have the ability to play in that 8 position if you want to roll with a box to box, but he can also play high up the pitch too as a 10. And again, that's also another name that you have to consider at this stage, because Busio has been solid for like 3 months now. Like, he has been solid. And he has definitely been their leader. He has definitely been their chance creator. He's essentially been their spark of their attack. He has been phenomenal. If Busio was in the first division, he would 100% be on the World Cup roster. I think that's the reason why. Because he's playing in Serie B, right? If you remember, Tanner Tessman, before he went to Olympique Lyon, had trouble getting consistent call-ins because of the fact that he was playing at Venezia. And he got that move to Olympique Lyon, and it really helped him out move into the French first division. Me personally, I think that would be absolutely solid. He got his first taste. With Serie A 2 years ago, Busio, and it was obvious that maybe that level might have been, at the time, it might have been a little too much, because Venezia wasn't really that great of a team, and they went straight back down. Who knows? Maybe it's a little bit better this time around. But that being said, it's like, do you stay with Venezia to be again be a yo-yo team in Serie A, or do you find stability in a first division, whether that be in France, whether that be in Germany? Shit, that might even be in Italy as well too. Maybe you stay in Italy and you just move to like a mid-table Serie A team. Who knows? But that being said, he's earned it, and Busio is phenomenal. He's one of my favorite players in the pool right now. I know this is going to sound crazy, but that being said, when you look at the development of a dude like Busio, and you look at where he's come from to where he is now, I actually rate him more than I rate Yunus Musa, and I like Yunus Musa too. And I think I think Musa's a player. But that being said, it's like the ability and the creativity, and the dude's just what's the word I'm looking for? The dude's ability to play multiple positions, if need be, and his just ability to fit where you need him to fit. I think he just gives you a little bit more of a leg up than Yunus Musa. But that being said, it's not a disrespect to Musa. Musa has to play in a specific position for him to be effective, and he also needs to run a games in order for him to be as well too. But you also wonder whether or not this move to Atalanta maybe had stunted him. We'll find out. We'll find out this upcoming summer what happens with Yunus. But that being said, it's like Busio for me is going to surpass Yunus within a year or two. And I would probably assume that trajectory is going to reflect it as well too. Lastly, in the forwards, we have to talk. There you go. Versatility. That's the word I was looking for. He's so versatile. And Busio, but just Busio is nice, man. Busio is really nice. Lastly, we have to talk about Rokas Pukstas. And the thing about Pukstas is that I am 100% sold on this kid. 21 years old, plays in the the Croatian top flight for Hajduk Split. And what's funny about it is after the debacle of the March window, everybody was shouting, Xavier Gozo or Julian Hall for the World Cup team. And I'm like, what about this kid? Because this kid can play out left if you need him to play out left, and he's good. He's also a 10. And if we are playing two underneath 10s, this kid gives you so much versatility. This kid is so good. And he's so clean with his passing ability. He's been on my rundown now for like 6 straight weeks because I can't leave him out. He's that good. And by the way, Hajduk Split beat HNK Borsha. He played a full 90, had 52 touches, 7 in the opposition box, 24 of 30 of accurate passes, 3 into the final third, 1 of 1 on successful dribbles, 5 defensive contributions, 4 tackles, 7 of 12 ground duels, 4 of 5 of aerial duels while playing the 10. That was good for an 8 rating. And generally speaking, he's also automatic as well too. This kid is nice too. And it also lets you know exactly what this next cycle is going to look like. Because when I look at it and I'm thinking about how this thing is going to look, and we'll find out about Noah Kai sooner rather than later. But when you think about the young versatility that's coming from Major League Soccer, Nico Sakaris with San Jose, striker. Julian Hall, New York Red Bull, striker. You're talking about Xavier Gozo, winger. Diego Luna is a 10. You're talking about Mehmeti, who's a center mid. And now you got Rokas Pukstas overseas, who's also a 10. You know what I mean? It's like if we get Noah Kai in the fold, there's a center back. And, really all we're looking for in 2030 is maybe Chris Brady gets a move overseas and he gets some run overseas and he can actually, develop and get to that next level. Maybe Diego Coaching gets a move away from Barca B, and, Gaga Slanita can get his career back on track and getting away from Chelsea. And maybe, those 3 can be that next wave in the goalkeeper discussion, right? Like I'm so very excited because don't get me wrong, there's going to be some guys in 2026 that are going to age out. And this is like the first time in a very long time with the national team where you actually have like 5, 6, 7 potential young players that are coming through that are going to be like next level good for the national team. And they're all going to be somewhere between like 20 and 22. And then you can throw Kevin Sullivan into that conversation as well too. And it's like, especially for the Major League Soccer guys, man, coming up this December, Camp Cupcake returns. Instead of January, it's going to be in December, and I'm giving all those dudes their first caps. All of those guys are getting first caps. Whoever the new coach is, just bring them into camp, cap tie them, give them starts, and just get that new cycle going. Especially in that first year, you can bring them along just like Poch did with Ajameng and Freeman and Arston and Luna. You know what I mean? And you look at exactly how Poch did it throughout 2025, and they progressively got better to the point where Freeman gets the jump to Villarreal. You know what I mean? It's like, and Ajameng goes to Derby County. It's like it's amazing exactly what that will do for young players to get into the national team, senior national team fold early, and then them to be on that level, and progressively as they play better talent, all of a sudden that next window, they're overseas. I'm just saying. But Pukstis is going to be one of those guys who should, as far as I'm concerned, he should jump the U23s. Like, there's no need to keep him on the U23 level. Just give him a senior national team cap, and just let that kid cook with all the young kids. And then there's going to be time where you blend them all together, and then you just see exactly how they react. And those that'll climb will. And it makes me more confident for 2030 than I actually am for 2026. I think 2026 was a letdown, if I'm being perfectly honest. All right, let's turn to the midfield. Tyler Adams only played 20 minutes this weekend in a kind of a nondescript role. That being said, though, like when you think about who Bournemouth played, going to the Emirates and beating Arsenal is no feat, no small feat. But he came in, I believe he came in. Yeah, he came in the 70th minute for Christie, and there really wasn't much to talk about. I think he had 12 touches in this one. Only 3 defensive contributions, not much to write home about. But that being said, it was a big win for Bournemouth. Going to the Emirates is not an easy thing to do. Tanner Tessman, I think he only played 8 minutes in a 2-0 victory over Lorient in Ligue 1. I think he came in the 82nd minute, and again, nothing really to write home about. I think he only had 3 touches in this one. It is what it is. Johnny Cardoso didn't feature, and again, it's like that question of is he or isn't he hurt? From everything that I heard, that it really wasn't an injury, that it had been, Atletico and the U.S. men's national team, Mauricio Pochettino had a plan in place that he wasn't going to play a lot of minutes. Now, did he tweak something in the 45? Apparently, but is it serious? No, not really. He should be back sooner rather than later. Did somebody just ask me about Jack McGlynn? Yeah. What do I think about Jack McGlynn? I like Jack McGlynn. I do. I like Jack. I think Jack's got very good skills, man. I think he's got the best set piece in major, like for as far as like American domestic national team players that are in the pool right now. Those that are getting consistent caps, Jack McGlynn probably has the best set piece of the group. I think he's actually a far more lethal piece than Sebastian Berhalter at this point. Berhalter just gives you an engine. That's what Berhalter is to me. Like, he's that go engine guy. And he, like, don't get me wrong, Sebastian's good. But that being said, it's like you look at, how you can move Jack McGlynn across the board. You can't really do that with Sebastian Berhalter. You can do it with McGlynn. I like McGlynn, and I really wish that, he would have went abroad and not to Houston. But that being said, the dude's making $3 million a year. So what are you going to do? You going to turn down life-changing money, or are you going to, potentially go overseas for, 15, 20 grand a week, you're going to go to Houston. That's what you're going to do. Plus, I think the Dynamo are starting to build something. It all depends on what their ownership plans are, but it feels like Houston is trying to build something. Whether or not they're going to pull it off is yet to be seen. Aiden Morris, as Middlesbrough lost 1-0 to Pompey over the weekend. Aiden Morris had another phenomenal performance, and this is the thing, right? This is the position that is so incredibly hard to pick, right? Because of the Major League Soccer players that are in this player group, it's kind of hard to determine where a guy like Aiden Morris is in that pecking order. But again, like over the course of the last 4 months, Aiden Morris has been brilliant for Middlesbrough. Probably one of the reasons why they were flirting with automatic promotion for a good half month. They've kind of dipped off a little bit, but they're still within a playoff, and they're probably going to be in the playoffs at the very least. But he played a full 90. He had 91 touches. That's insane. 61 of 70 of accurate passes. 10 of those go into the final third. 4 of 8 of accurate long balls. 1 of 1 of accurate crosses. 5 defensive contributions. 5 tackles. 6 of 6 of grand duels. 3 of 5 of aerial duels, and that was good for a 7.5 rating. This dude has been their most consistent player all season long. Again, Hayden Hackney gets the media rub, but he's the engine. He's the dude that's consistent. That's the reason why Middlesbrough is where they're at. Aiden Morris is legit, and I would not be surprised if Aiden Morris gets a move elsewhere up a level. I think he's shown this season that he might be a little bit too good for the championship. All right, let's move to the wing backs, and of course, Serginho Dest is out. John Tolkien got injured, unfortunately, which means Max Arkston has probably solidified himself as the backup left wing back. Oh yeah, hold on real quick. Alex Freeman did not feature for Villarreal again. Timmy Weah did feature this weekend in a 3-1 victory over Metz in Ligue 1. I can't believe Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is still playing. But Weah was playing at the right wing back position. Did play a full 90. No chances created. He had 42 touches. 21 of 29 of accurate passes, 3 into the final third. He only had 2 defensive contributions, 2 tackles, 3 of 6 of grand duels, and that was about it. And that was probably good for a 6.5 rating. Not exactly the greatest showing for Timmy Weah, especially when you consider like they were playing Mets again. This should have been one of those type of matches where you potentially could see gaudy numbers. Let's talk about Jedi for a minute because he also played as well too. Hold on real quick. We have Dan Davenport. Let's see. Hey Steve, it's now between us, Forest, and West Ham to go down. Now I sent your message on Instagram. Okay, yeah, I'll look at it. I'll look at it tonight, my guy. By the way, also think about Manchester City because I think they're going to get hit with a massive points deduction, and I think that ultimately might save us. Keep that in your back of your mind. Yeah, Jedi. Fulham did lose 2-0 to Liverpool. He played 69 minutes, had 61 touches, 26 of 34 of accurate passes, 4 into the final third, 3 of 4 of accurate long balls, 10 defensive contributions, which is nice, 4 tackles, 2 interceptions, and it looks like he was 5 of 6 of ground duels, which was good for a 7 rating. But again, in a losing effort against a team like Liverpool, I guess that's pretty solid. Maybe you would like to see a little bit more in the attacking end, a lot more through balls into the box. Again, when Fulham is running on all cylinders, that dude holds the width on the left, and he has ability to play balls. He has that low cross, right? He doesn't put a cross in traditionally because his accuracy isn't really all that great. He keeps it low to the ground, and he tends to be pretty accurate with those balls into the box. So you like to see a little bit more of that, but it is what it is. Uriola's leaving Bournemouth. I heard. All right. Finally, as we move to the center back position. By the way, Noah Kai Banks didn't play for Augsburg again, but that's all right. Chris Richards, as Crystal Palace beat Newcastle 2-1. Richards played a full 90, had 53 touches, 27 of 35 of accurate passes, 7 into the final third. I love that, man. I love that. The fact that he has those type of line-breaking passes that he can actually play into the box, insane. 3 of 9 of accurate long balls, 9 defensive contributions, 7 clearances, 1 of 1 of grand duels, 1 of 1 of aerial duels, and that's good for a 7 rating. And by the way, Chris Richards is our best center back. And by the way, when it comes to the back three, it's not that complicated. It's really not that complicated, man. Our best three are Richards, McKenzie, and Trusty at this stage. Maybe you mix and match by bringing Freeman in, depending on the opponent. Maybe even a Joe Scally, depending on the opponent. But that being said, it's like this should not be that hard to figure out a back three. And Chris Richards, I personally would like to keep him on the right, his natural position. I think you would like to think that Mark McKenzie might be able to do a job in a central area, but that being said, it is what it is. I just think Richards is, I think it would be best suited for him to be playing his natural position. Mark McKenzie did play 48 minutes, but he got shredded. And by the way, Toulouse got bodied by Lille 4-0. And he probably had his worst performance at Toulouse. But that being said, it is what it is. It's a one-off. He's actually been very good. He has been very good in Ligue 1. And it just happened to be one of those games, man, where it just doesn't go right. I think he had maybe a 4.55 rating in this one, playing 48 minutes. And I think I also think they scored on him as well too. Olivier Giroud? No shit. I didn't even think he was still playing. Well, anyway, he scored against him. It was a penalty, but that being said, it's like, you can't have that. As a matter of fact, yeah, you just can't have that. And so, unfortunately, McKenzie, it's just one of those. It was one of those weekends for Mark McKenzie. And lastly, Austin Trusty, as Celtic beat St. Mirren 1-0. Austin did play a full 90. He had 111 touches. 111. 99 of 102 of accurate passes. That's insane, too. 11 into the final third. Again, insane. 7 of 9 of accurate long balls. 4 defensive contributions. 5 recoveries. 1 of 1 in ground duels. 4 of 6 of aerial duels. And that was good for a 7.5 rating. And again, Austin Trusty, and I've been saying this for about a year now, because there hasn't been a lot of love for Austin Trusty, and a lot of U.S. men's national team fans were kind of giving him the gears for going to Celtic. Prior to that, he was with Sheffield United in the championship, and he was being used, not being used. He was used a lot in early season and cup matches. He would get occasional minutes during the season, but that being said, man, there was a reason why he went to Celtic, because of the fact that they're Celtic. Even though that the Scottish Prem isn't the greatest, they're constantly in the Champions League. So the profile is there for him to go to a team like Celtic, win silverware there, and constantly every single year, at least being in the league phase, in a Champions League situation where you can put yourself in the shop window. And I thought it was a smart move especially at the time, pairing up with Cameron Carter-Vickers. So there is some chemistry there. There's a lot of familiarity between the two of them. And it looked like that was, that to me seemed like it was a no-brainer. And Austin Trusty, for the, as far as I'm concerned, he's been the one that's been the most consistent there. And of course, like he's, his stature within the national team was growing because he was getting caps, but they weren't consistent. And then, when Maurizio came in, he was calling him in. Now he wasn't necessarily playing a lot, but again, he was the type of guy that just waited for his opportunity. And he got it against Portugal, and I thought he made the most of it. And when you watch him play, dude just busts his ass. Like, what's funny, everybody talks about playing for the badge. Everybody talks about playing for the badge. And it's like, dude, Austin plays his ass off. Like me personally, I love the profile, but from a tactical perspective, you can play him in a back three or a traditional back four, and he's good with the ball at the feet. So, it's funny because like if you want to play out of the back, you can, and you don't have to worry about Trusty making mistakes with the ball at his feet. He can break lines with his passing, or if you need him to go long, he can go long if you want to play it that way as well too. And the guy is not going to be a liability. And what I like about him too is when he tracks back, if there's a ball over the top and he has to track back, he is very smart when it comes to his slide tackles as well too. He's never going to do too much where all of a sudden you have to worry about whether or not he's taking yellow cards or taking dumb penalties, where all of a sudden maybe he's in the box and there's a penalty against him. Like he's like his IQ in defending is absolutely smart. And I think Austin, he undeniably proved that he's capable of playing as a starter on this team. And we saw, unfortunately, what Tim Ream is now and what he's not. And if you want to bring him, Ream to the World Cup, cool, man. If you want to do it for vibes, do it for vibes. But as far as playing, if you're playing a back three, Trusty is a part of that back three, and it makes sense too. It makes sense. Let's see. What's going on, Falco? How you doing? Let's see. Okay, cool. What do I do? Burn, baby, burn. What do I do? This is what I do, my friend. Let's see. Dan Davenport 1692 said Trusty could get a move elsewhere in the transfer window Sunday 100%. Now it all depends though, right? It depends on what Celtics motivation is, right? If they can get like 25 mil for him, yeah, I'm probably sure they would do it. I think at the time that they got him for like 8 mil. Like I want to say. Let's find out. I thought it was like a 5-year deal, 7.8 million. So it was $8 million essentially. And if they can turn around and sell them for like 20, 25 mil, which would be cheap, especially if you're like a mid-tier Premier League team looking for a center back with upside, that's cheap. That's cheap. But that being said, it's like, you're also, if you're Celtic, you also have to find that replacement as well too. So we'll see. Let's see. What do I think? What do you think to Inter Miami firing their head coach? I was talking about this at the top of the show. And, again, if you're Inter Miami, as a head coach, there's two things that you have to do. Two things. Number one, you almost have to be perfect when it comes to your tactical setup. It can't be overcomplicated, but it has to be organized. And number two, you have to basically kiss the ring, because it's Leo Messi's team. He has the power to hire you, and he has the power to fire you as well too. If there's any type of preconceived notion in your abilities, you're out the door. But also from an Inter Miami standpoint, Dan, when you think about the money that they have spent, and since Messi has come into the league, and the amount of money that the league is paying Messi. And they brought in Busquets, they brought in Alba, they brought in Suarez, Rio Novo. They brought in a lot of players. And yeah, they had some pretty decent success, but the reality is they spent this money to win everything. The biggest trophies, which is MLS Cup, which they did last year, and also the CONCACAF Champions League as well too, right? That's our Continental Club Championship. It's like the Copa Libertadores down in South America, or the Champions League in Europe, right? That is our Champions League. And of course, it's the biggest teams in Mexico, the biggest teams in the Caribbean, and also the United States. I think Canada is a part of it now too. But the reality is that there's only been one Major League Soccer team to lift that trophy in the modern era of that tournament, and of course that was Seattle, my Sounders, back in 2022. Outside of that, it's dominated by Mexican teams, right? And so Inter Miami wanted to buck the trend, and they spent so much goddamn money to do it. And for 3 years now, they have fell short. They went out in the quarterfinals, they went out in the semifinals, and this year they went out in the round of 16. And it's just not going to cut it. Last year, they got bodied against Seattle in the Leagues Cup final. They won the Supporter Shield the year before. Last year they win MLS Cup. But that being said, it's like this season, without Jordi Alba and Sergio Busquets, man, that team is kind of leaking goals. They don't, they're not attacking with the same bite as they did last year. It is what it is, man. Like, Jordi Alba was special, man. That dude was special on the overlap. And the funny thing about it is teams couldn't stop it. Like, you can try to game plan all you want, but when you have a dude like Leo Messi, and you have Rodrigo de Paul crashing central areas, it leaves the outside open, and you would see Jordi Alba just all the time, hit that overlap, and all of a sudden it's balls in the box, and teams couldn't stop it. And now all of a sudden that's not there. That element's not there. Sergio Busquets is not there, so you don't have that extra level of defending, right? That whole central area where last 2 years where teams were trying to play through the middle of the park. It just wasn't there. You could try to play one over the top. That was usually stifled. You can try to play through the middle of the park, but then you have a guy like Sergio Busquets who just steps up into passing lanes, and all of a sudden it's a turnover. And they don't have that anymore. And now, you're seeing a lot more engagement with Miami's back line. So that means that Falco and Michael have to be even a little bit better. And, the reason why they looked good last year was because you had Sergio Busquets. That took all the pressure off, and all they had to do was, essentially just pick up the pieces. Because, Busquets was playing, doing the dirty work. This year, it's not so much, man. And yeah, granted, they're still in a good spot, but when you factor in the CONCACAF Champions Cup loss and them going out, and you factor in the fact that it's just not the same team, there might be some frustration setting in. And that being said, it's like when the king loses his patience, man, you're out. And that was it. And what's funny, what I like about it is the fact that Inter Miami phrases it like it's funny, like it's so not believable. They said that it was mutual, that he was terminated by mutual consent, and it's like no. That wasn't it. Or he no. They said it was for because of personal reasons. That's what they said. that he's leaving because of personal reasons. And it's like, no, then why was his entire coaching staff axed as well too? It's like, no. Because they said the same thing about Tata Martino as well too. And Tata had like one of the best regular seasons in MLS history. And they failed in the playoffs after winning the Supporter Shield. They lost, if you guys remember that, they had Atlanta United in the first round. After Atlanta United won in the play-in game, I think they beat Montreal to get to the first round, and they beat them in that first round. And Tata, essentially got fired, even though they said it was because of personal reasons. And it's the same thing. It's like, come on, man, you can't sell it. And by the way, you can't sell that lame excuse. You can literally just say, like, listen, tensions between Messi and Javier, came to a point where it was untenable. That's it. So, by the way, Inter Miami has appointed a new interim head coach, and his name is Guillermo Hoyos. He was previously the club's sporting director, and he was a longtime mentor of Messi. So he takes over. As the interim head coach for Miami. Their next match is on the 18th against Colorado, in Colorado. Just a little context for you guys. Hoyos is the former FC Barcelona youth coach, and he has managed teams in Argentina, Greece, Chile, and Bolivia. So there is your little backstory right there for Guillermo Hoyos right there. So let's see. Luis Suarez is very old, so they need to sign up for maybe. So the thing about Suarez is he's no longer a starter anymore. He is coming off the bench like in the last 10 minutes. And that's about where he should be at this stage, right? He can give you it in bursts. And if you need him occasionally to start, he'll be fine. But that being said, you're wondering whether or not you're getting enough up front. As of right now, they spent like $15 million on Berterame, Guillermo Berterame from Monterrey in the offseason. He was the new DP. That's their new number 9. And so from that standpoint, that is the guy moving forward. So, Suarez will get the occasional start, but they got their new target 9. Let's see. Dan Davenport says, I don't have Apple TV to watch Major League Soccer. I used to watch MLS when Sky Sports in the UK had the rights. Yeah, okay. By the way, I think it's free now. I think Apple TV, Major League Soccer, and Apple TV is free now. So let me double check that real quick. Let's see. Starting in 2026, Major League Soccer matches are included at no extra cost with an Apple TV subscription. So you still got to subscribe to it, but it's not going to be a separate paywall. So but prior to the season, if you had an Apple TV subscription, you actually had to pay more for the MLS package. Now it's just included in a basic Apple TV subscription. But that being said, it's not really all that expensive. How much is an Apple TV Plus? How much is that? It's $12.99 a month. It's not expensive at all. $13. Not at all. Let's see. Alba was awesome at Barca. Yeah, he was. So there you go. So don't get me wrong. I don't get paid by Apple to do that, but $12.99 for a subscription, and not only do you get their programming, but you get Major League Soccer. Not bad. Let's see. Oh, here's Derma. What's going on, Derma? Hope you're doing well. He asked, where do you watch Major League Soccer? On Apple TV. And again, it is $12.99 a month, which is actually insanely cheap. And again, like it used to be behind its own separate paywall, right? So if you had an Apple TV subscription, you had to pay extra to get Major League Soccer. Now it's actually included in the entire subscription, and that is $12.99 a month. I got one, and it's worth it. Let's see. Yeah, they should be on Sky. How are you? Okay, and then let's see. He's fine. Let's see. Did you know Stuart Holden? Yeah, I did. So Stuart Holden, I think he was born in Scotland, but he was raised in the United States. And he was actually talking about he had dual national rights. And the funny thing is like he was never on Scotland's radar until there was like a showcase. There was like a youth showcase. And that's when Scotland finally found out about him. And, they actually asked him if he wanted to play. And he was like, nah, like, don't get me wrong. Like, I was born in Scotland, but he's American. And I think Stu said as much as like he wouldn't feel appropriate if he played for Scotland. He was born there, but, he's about as American as apple pie. Let's see. Zach says $10. Okay. Alrighty. Looks like I got some more followers there on TikTok. That's awesome. All right, guys. That is going to do it for me. I want to let you guys know that if there are players that you want me to cover a little bit more on a weekly basis, like Cole Campbell, or if there's some guys that you think that I'm overlooking, leave those in the chat. And obviously I'll do you a solid, and they will be in the rundown. But also, if here's the thing also, like, if you want me to include a rundown for domestic players, because I've been thinking about this as well too, potentially doing a domestic based roundup show as well too. And so if you guys are interested in that, I can do that as well too, because I've been thinking about doing 2 shows. The USMNT Abroad, of course, because I like doing it, but I was flirting with the idea of doing a domestic based show as well too. So you guys let me know, and obviously maybe I'll just do it anyway, but I think it would be excellent to kind of recap, especially when it comes to the striker pool, and then also some other positions as well in Major League Soccer. So you guys let me know if you guys would like that. Again, leave it down in the chat, and then also, again, man, hook your boy up. Let everybody know about the show, because we are gaining traction, and we got some hardcores already. So yeah, dude, do me a favor and throw me a sub. Throw me a like. Those those that are tuning in on TikTok live, the description is in my bio. So if you want to head over to YouTube and throw me a sub, man, I'd appreciate it. Same thing that goes for all those that are tuning in on X and Facebook as well too, man. Show me some love, but also share the show as well too. Let's get the show pumped out in the algorithm, and let's get this thing all hyped before the World Cup. You know what I mean? I would greatly appreciate it. But that's gonna do it for me, guys, because I do got to get to bed, man. I gotta be up at 3 o'clock tomorrow morning for work. So that's going to do it for me. I do want to thank you all. Thank you guys. I love doing it, man, because not only do I love the beautiful game, but I love my country. Yeah, man, you guys are awesome, man. That's why I do it. And, that's the thing, right? Because I get a lot of love from, Dan Davenport, Dermatron, and some of these guys as well too, man, because, Audio Artists and some of these other guys that just continue to show up, because, that's what makes it worth it, man. That's what makes it worth it, that you guys think enough of me. So from that standpoint, that's going to do me tonight. I hope you guys are great. And yeah, Dan, I will take a look on Instagram tonight, and I'll get back to you as well too. I would have no problem doing a live stream with you, buddy. All right, guys, take it easy. Good night.
twisted goalposts under fading skies.